Hello.
Hello.
Hi, sorry for the delay. I think there was a 2-minute
No
delay.
problem.
So
No problem.
let's,
I just got on.
okay. I was online, but then I disconnected and came back online. And so let's begin. I am going to resume what we were doing the other day, which was the exercise on using Chef server, no, client and server. And that was the exercise I think we were doing the last time, if I remember right. So I'm going to project my screen. And then quit this email client and get to the point where I can focus on the exercise, which is here in the DevOps segment. And the exercise needs to run inside virtual machine. The virtual machine is currently running now, and it was powered off. And I will just get straight to that point where we were the last time. And the last time we were at, I think it's almost getting started. That was the point, if I remember right. So yeah, we had this step, prepare your kitchen. So there's a video walkthrough. Then we started getting this starter.zip file to be edited in a fashion that it will then work with what we have in mind. Like, for example, we had this chef-repo with us, right? CD chef repo. And that folder contained a bunch of things that I began deleting, and then I began adding a couple of other things. Like, here is my knife RB, which contains my key, and the key I have already deleted, so I need to get a new key right now, and I will do that. I'll also delete this portion, then I'll go grab a new key pair. This region East 2 will not work. We already discussed that the other day. We'll stick to East 1 or some of the older regions. And we have to change this also from DigitalOcean. And then we verify our gem file, which is this long list of items that we have. I'll just quickly run that step all over, and then that should get us to a point where we can actually begin working on this exercise. The exercise is long. It is also intense. There is no other way to describe it. It is the right word is it is intense. It is too much. Yes, it is too much. But if you're doing one exercise, then this is it. That's how I would describe. This will give you solid understanding, a really, really great understanding of what do you do when you want to deploy a real application in any cloud of your choice. It doesn't matter which cloud. It absolutely doesn't matter, because we have considered this structure, this particular exercise, as we have written it. It runs in 3 clouds. You can modify to get it to any other cloud. That's not a big deal. But that's one of the reasons why this gem file is such a long list of gems. Because, yeah, it is a balance of making things right for 3 different clouds in just one exercise. That's the thing that I have tried and seems to work. So let's go check. Can I bundle? So before I bundle, I need to check my gem file. I have a gemfile.lock. I'll just remove that lock file just to clean up. And then I'll say, bundle, please. And this should bundle update my list of gems that I need from the gem file. And apparently it completed successfully, which is nice. So I'll close my gem file, close my knife RB, or rather keep it open because I want to fill up the access key ID and secret from Amazon and get this DigitalOcean token in place. And I will keep this file open. I have a new lock file that I have already. So now that this gem file is in place, I want to now bundle install, then delete a bunch of folders that we don't need, like old cookbooks folder needs to go. So I delete that. And then I have this starter role already deleted from a roles folder. Then I have this known host file I should also clean up, so that when I run with certain clouds, that they reissue the same IP address sometimes, and we might have an older known host file. which will cause a mismatch and a failure. So I delete that just to clean up. Then I create a bunch of new folders like this. And that is just creating new folders. Currently, we don't have much folders here. We have only so many of these folders. So I want to create, like, this roles folder can also go. So basically, we're starting with just these things. The gem file.lock. We have a README file, which actually doesn't contain much. It just contains the exercise we ran the last time, and we'll have other steps written down here as to what we plan to do today. And so that's our scratch pad. Maybe I can rename this to scratch, but doesn't matter. So that's my scratch pad. And I need to fill up these access key ID, secret key, and then also create a bunch of new folders like this. So copying that, bringing it here, and running that step. So when I run that step, I should see new folders created. They show up here in Atom. There are a bunch of new folders basically to host different types of things that we will have in our kitchen. And that's what the reason why we have that folders created. Now I will compare and contrast my chef knife.rb file with this listing. So there's a reference knife RB I have. I'm comparing that reference knife RB with my actual knife RB, so that I will know what is the item that are missing, different, and all that good stuff. And so I will paste the new knife RB, and I will notice right off the bat that some of these lines are actually the same exactly that we have already. So I'll start cleaning it up. Like this line needs to go, and I'll probably do this faster because we have already done it at least one time. So I'm just cleaning up this to make sure that I am getting the right set of items in my knife RB. I noticed that my example here refers to the old name of the company. So I'll just quickly edit that and make it the new name. Like this is the new name of the company. So I'll just copy that name and put it right here in place of this. That my lesson also gets updated. I'm pasting that new idea right there, new URL, updating that, and then opening that lesson step again to get to see this new name popping up right in the example also. And now that this name is actually matching line number 6, I can delete that. I have these 3 items that are kind of new. They did not exist in the original example, so I want to keep them. So I'll put them here. Then I have a reference to cookbook path, which has a reference to site cookbooks, as well as cookbooks in the correct order of precedence, which I already have taken care of, site cookbooks and cookbooks already. So that line number 7 already takes care of that. So this line number 24 is kind of redundant. So I will kill 24. Then I have some cosmetics here about my name. When we create a new cookbook, this information will get populated. So we can leave it like this. When we're using Amazon Cloud, we need to get credentials from that URL. So the URL is already right there. Here, I can just go to it, copy that URL, go here to Amazon Cloud, and we will land at the credentials page right away. So here is my login. Here is my, this is new. Some security check apparently. So CECEG5, this is new from Amazon. And maybe I cannot read. What is that? A 3FE547. Okay. And now I'm able to log in, I hope, and put my token and sign in. And then I should get to my credentials place where I can create a credential secret key pair. And that key pair was deleted the last time I was playing with it, October 17th. Today is what, 19th? So create a new one. And I will, of course, delete this one at the end of the session. But make sure that you do not show this credential at all to anybody ever. I'm showing it to you, but it's okay. But you should not, like absolutely not. Don't show this credential to anybody whatsoever. Like never. It doesn't make sense to share this with people. I am doing that, but I will clean it up, by the way. I'll basically make sure that I delete that as soon as I am done with this exercise. And when I'm sharing this video with you guys, and people are watching, and It goes on YouTube in certain cases. So it become public, and I don't want this to become public. Like, absolutely not. So yeah, closing that. That's a credential. I have it here saved. I'm choosing my US East 1 region. I have these are now redundant. Line 28, 29, 30 are redundant. So I get rid of that. Then I have the DigitalOcean token section. I can grab that token from somewhere, maybe from that URL. So I'll go there and grab a token from DigitalOcean also. So I will go to a browser, open DigitalOcean website, and there I will say, DigitalOcean, DigitalOcean, can you please log me in? And here is the login button. Here is your login with Google button. And come on, log in with Google. And I am on the wrong login. I have multiple logins with these guys. And so I need to log out. I need to make sure that I log into the correct Google account first. Apparently, I have my personal Gmail, which is my lastname.com Gmail, as opposed to my company Gmail. That's what I need to get to. So I need to add an account to my lastname.com. And that is this one. And then I type in my password for my lastname.com and get a token signature with my fingerprint. And that goes ahead. And then I am logged into the correct Gmail. And now I can go to DigitalOcean, say log in with Google, and tell it to go log in with my first name at lastname.com. So it goes to the correct account, which is the account I created long, long ago, even before I had the Cloud Genius domain. So that's the old account, which I still use. And here I need to get a token. The token is hidden. It is not super obvious. So you have to go to the settings section in the accounts and then look for API. There's somewhere in API section. Where is that? API here. API, and then there are these tokens. So I have a token here called Streisand, Barbara Streisand. Actually, it's not Barbara Streisand. It's a project in open source called Streisand, for which I created a token. The Streisand is a project. If you should know that, by the way, Streisand. There is an effect called Streisand effect, which is this effect, which is that this is the home of Barbara Streisand, and she did not want people to see the home. So she went ahead and attempted a lot of things to make sure that people don't see this image of the home. But what happened as a consequence is that just because she was saying that don't look at my home and all that, is that people went ahead and looked at that home so much that now there is an effect called Streisand effect. And that is it's a phenomenon when people want to attempt to hide or remove or censor a piece of information, has the unintended consequence of publicizing the information more widely, usually facilitated by the internet. It's a psychological reaction, basically. And yeah, so that was on Malibu home. Here's how it looks like. And you and I are looking at it right now, and we can see what's going on there. But whatever. So that's the Streisand effect. And to counter that effect is this idea called GitHub. So GitHub Streisand is a collection of security-related things that you can read and use. And I actually recommend this thing. You should take a look at what this thing is, because it is actually a collection of beautiful security-related tools that will give you not only security, but privacy and a bunch of other benefits. So you should read that, this tool called Streisand. So that's this, Barbara right there, whatever. So the point is I'm creating a token. So I'm generating one right now here, and I'm going to give it a name. We'll call it the chef exercise. And then generate a token with write permissions. I need to be able to write. That's a critical permission to have. And then I generate, that will allow you to create a new machine, by the way, in DigitalOcean using this token. So when you have write permissions, only then you will get the ability to create a new machine or more than one new machines in DigitalOcean using the token that I will now generate. And by the way, this token should not be shown to anybody. I'm copying it, and the only time you get to see it is this one time. And then it will disappear from even my view. I will not be able to see it. So now that I have that token, I'll place it right in that box. change this for DigitalOcean access token paste. So I have it now. And now that I have these things saved, I need to make sure that I clean up the file, the knifeRB file a little bit. And I have some Azure instructions here that we'll use later on. We will need to uncomment this last line 32 at a later step, not right now. So just leave it like this and save and close. Now that we have this thing in our hand, I will go back with our exercise. So in our exercise, what we are doing is that we have the knifeRB written down exactly as we have. And so we have to put everything in Git control. So what we want to do is actually put this file, not necessarily in Git control, that README scratch file. We don't need to put that in Git control. We don't want to put the cookbooks folder also not in Git control. And so this, by the way, whatever I'm talking about right now is not strictly not necessary for the exercise. Let me just describe that. So I'm saying, put your repository in Git control, like right here, and we'll do that. And by the way, that action of putting this in a Git repository is strictly not necessary, but it is a great idea, and therefore you should do it. But when you're running short of time and you don't have too much time because you have to go to work or do other things in life, I'm telling you a shortcut. The shortcut is, in this exercise, if you're running short on time, that you skip doing anything to do with Git, and nothing will change from a functional perspective. Anytime you have a write-up here saying put in Git control, there are some Git commands, you can just conveniently skip it. Unless you're interested in Git, in which case you should absolutely do it. And by the way, if you have time, you should follow along and do the Git steps also, because it gives you perspectives of how it is done for real, for professional scenarios. So that's the idea. So you can skim on using Git. Yes.
Sorry, I missed in the very beginning where you are exactly in the lesson plan.
So I am on the third step in this sequence here on the, let me just go there. So you see on the listing here on the left side, so there is the first step here called prepare your kitchen. Then we have the gem file listing and then knife configuration, the third step, like right there. If you see my mouse, do you see my mouse moving?
Yes.
Do you see my mouse becoming bigger at any time or no?
No.
No, not at all, huh? Okay. I see my mouse like literally, when I shake my mouse, it becomes big. But maybe it is just me that I see it. But that's the section I'm talking about. This is where we are right now. You can go back to the previous step, which is the version discipline, long list of gem items. And then the next step is where I am right now. I'm looking at my knifeRB. And then I'm talking about your idea of skimping on Git control. You can totally skimp on it, but not a good idea, not a great idea. It's totally okay. It will just save you some time. So if you don't do Git things, if you don't have time, you can just skip. And
thanks.
Yeah, but actually speaking, skimping on Git is a bad idea, because you should not be doing that. You should actually learn Git the right way and use it the right way. That's why I have it written down, and I will do it, but you don't have to do it. Having said, let me do it. So here, in my folder, I don't think I have any Git repository. No, I don't. So I will initialize one. And when I initialize, I want to make sure that I very clearly articulate which folders I want in the Git repository and which I don't. So I know that I don't want to give everybody my cookbooks folder, because they can also download it from their own tooling. Meaning the tool that we'll be using will be slightly different, like bulk shelf and another one called librarian. So I'll be using the librarian tool in this example. And that librarian chef is already in our gem file. Somewhere here you will find it. Librarian is included. Where is librarian chef? That tool is already included in our gem file. So librarian is available. It operates just like bulk shelf with subtle differences. That's what we'll be using in this particular exercise. Then we'll switch back to bulk shelf in a subsequent exercise. So for right now, what I'm talking about is I don't want to put certain files in my Git repository, which means that I need to create a new file to ignore those things in Git control. So I'm creating a new file. The file is called .git ignore. And that file contains a list of things that I don't want Git to know. Do not want Git to know about this file. Hiding it. Don't want Git to know about this file. Hiding it. So that's what I will be doing. Just tell Git, hey, myRB, this file in the .chef folder, don't look at it. Again, also, don't look at this file. Similarly, I would like you, Git, to not look at my cookbooks folder and also a TMP folder. And we can, of course, later on add things that we need to be hidden from Git. And so these are the 4 things I want to hide from Git. And for the things that I want to keep in Git, like these empty folders, I want to keep them, but Git will ignore them because they're empty. So we have the exact opposite idea of a git ignore, which is this file called .gitignore, which is right here, by the way, that file. We have the exact opposite idea of a git ignore file is the git keep file. So this git keep file, which is like a new file that you create in a folder, which is empty, but you want to keep the folder. You create a new file inside that folder, call it git keep. By the way, you can call it whatever you like. It doesn't matter. It just needs to be non-empty. That's the idea. So the convention is to use the name git keep. And so I have kept the data bags folder because I have made sure that this folder is not empty. Just by having a blank file like git keep, it's empty file, but the folder is not empty because it contains this empty file. Similarly, I want to duplicate this file and put it in the other folders like environments, for example. So that it now has a folder called environments is not empty because it has an empty file. Same here. And same here. So now I have empty files sitting inside empty folders, and therefore the folders are not empty, and therefore Git will not ignore them, actually take into account. But these items in the git ignore file will be ignored. That's the plan. I also want to ignore the readme file, so I can ignore that. Or maybe I want to keep it. So it's really up to us. Don't put secret information here, in here, and then that's okay. Totally nice. You can just include your notes in your scratchpad in your Git repository. So that doesn't harm anybody as long as you're not putting secrets in the readme file or the scratchpad. And so I want to keep it. I'll leave it like this. Then I'll go and add. So git status is not currently nothing in there. And so there are new files. So you'll see that there is a new file called git ignore, gem file, lock, readme, data bag folder, environment folder, roles folder, site cookbooks folder. These folders are there, but they are untracked. So we are on the main branch. We want to make an initial commit, but there are these files that Git doesn't know. So we want to add them. And then Git knows about them. So Git knows that there are these changes to be committed. So I will commit them. These guys will go into git commit. And now it has. Git status shows nothing to do. And now you have your listing that shows you these files. You will notice that Git doesn't know about the .chef folder. That's a very important thing because git ignore ignores it. And again, repeating this for other people, that we don't have to go through Git exercise steps because you can skip them if you don't have time. Having said, I will proceed to the next step. So I'm going to the fourth one, which is I'm going to gather community cookbooks. That's the cookbook list that I have. And this list contains all the books that I need for my exercise. And let me just briefly describe what this exercise itself is going to be by opening up a notepad. In that notepad, I will write down. I am probably a little bit fast today because I want to finish the whole thing. I hope to finish the whole thing, and it's a long exercise. I'm probably speeding up. If you find me speeding up and you want me to slow down, I will slow down. We have, we'll be able to cover it. I don't want to unnecessarily bore you with this, but I will need to speed up. But don't have to speed up. I can always slow down and we can have an extra session if you need to. No problem there. So time is not really a constraint. Time is actually your constraint. You have to go to work. I don't have to. So I can do it if you want me to do it. But I don't want to waste your time. That's my primary goal. So that's why I'm speeding up. If I am not clear about something, you should absolutely make sure to stop me and ask me questions now, later, or whenever you feel like. Now, the idea that we are really doing today, what are we doing? That's what I'm going to describe now. What is this exercise? Like we randomly doing random things like copy this, do that. That's not interesting to me. So what are we really doing? What are we doing is we are taking some software and creating a cloud service using that software. Software as a service. That's the overall idea. Which software I want to pick? So I thought that, you know what, we should find the most popular software on the planet. And apparently that's what I found. And that, at least that's the example that I'm taking. So if there is one software you can think of, the one that really, really is most popular, in fact, you can see it here. And this is not a false claim. This software is actually extremely popular. And it's right there. And so that's the software called WordPress that I want to use. It is a free software, meaning it is open source software. And this is, by the way, this site is not the right site for that software. This is the software as a service implementation of that software. And therefore, this is not free. There are certain parts that are free, but not everything is free. So just realize that this is not the thing that I'm talking about. But what I'm talking about is this software called WordPress.org, which is the foundation of that thing. And this is the actual software. It is available in the open source. You can download it from here if you like and click that button. That's what we'll be doing, but not the clicking the button part. We'll do it different ways. Because I don't use my mouse to do anything. So I prefer everything automated. And that's what I want to get to. And that's what we are really doing. So at the end of the exercise, at the end of this long exercise, what we will have is one command. And that one command we run, go. We say, type something, 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 and say enter. And what will happen as a consequence is that it will go connect to some cloud, start a machine, install Chef, and then you go to your Chef server. And then from there, it will download what is needed, like all the ideas that you want to have, like, your desired state configuration, your DNA injection, your whatever you have in your mind. You write that down, put that in the Chef server in a cookbook, or a bunch of other things. That's what we are really building towards, is we want to write down our desire. The desire for this to become WordPress setup, running live WordPress site. That's what I would like to accomplish. And I'll just run one command at the end of the game, one command, boom, go. And it will go to the cloud, start the machine, install everything that is needed to make things work according to what we write down in our desired state configuration in our kitchen. We push our kitchen to the Chef server. It will go and create this new machine, download, install Chef, download and get the DNA from the Chef server into that machine, convert that into whatever you need according to what you wrote down here, and install WordPress right there, and create a database machine and have a database running. This database needs to create a root password that you specify here, and you put that in a data bag, in an encrypted data bag, by the way, that goes here, and then it will pull down that password, use it with the database. It will take this WordPress application, connect it to the database, and then expose this endpoint to the user, and you can use that for a ordinary person on the internet can just access your software running on random cloud of your choice. All of that in one command. That's what we're really building. Yes, it is complex, because it involves every single thing you have to think through as to what needs to happen. But at the end of the day, you will have one line, boom, and it builds the whole thing. And that allows you to go to Hawaii on vacation. I'm just kidding. Actually, really, it does, because it frees your time. So when your time is free, you can do whatever you like think, for example, or travel, or go do whatever you like. That's the primary idea. So we don't want to do boring work. So we do the boring work one time, maybe two times, maybe three. But after that, no, not at all. Because the machines will handle it themselves, and we don't need to be involved in, messing around with that stuff. When we want something to happen, our commands will do it for us, and that's it. Then we are done. That's the idea. Maybe we can come up and think up something new here. And we have a new idea. Then we'll write that in our desired state configuration and then push it to the chef server. And that's it. Because the chef thing will run here automatically every so often. So it'll just pull down that new idea that you just pushed here to the chef server. And it will make new things happen here automatically. All you need to really do is think. And then when you think something new, you put that in your kitchen, in your desired state configuration, and you push, and you do whatever you want. Because the implementation is happening completely automatically. That's what we are really trying to accomplish with this exercise. So yes, there are lots of moving parts. Yes, there are lots of things to understand, and it is complex, and it can be feeling like copy and paste. But that's not what we are really doing. I am doing that exactly that, like copying and pasting, but that's not the idea. Most of the time you will see that I am copying from somewhere and pasting it in that window. Like that's the action you will see me do. But don't think like that. I want you to think about automation as to what we are really accomplishing is this one command that I want to build, so that I get the freedom of doing what I want, and I get new ideas, I incorporate them into my code and push my code out to the chef server, and then it implements it for me. It'll do work for me. That's the idea. That's the reason why we are going through so many different things, and that seemingly are boring, that are seemingly copy and paste. But that's not the concept. Yeah, it might seem like copy and paste, like for about next 60 minutes or so. We'll be just copying and pasting random things. I'm not really random. I'll explain that what they mean to you or mean to us from a usage perspective. And so now let us look at what is that software we are talking about called WordPress. So this software, if you go and look at the where is that? Here? No. Here? No. Close. I think I have a bunch of things open for no reason. Close. Apparently something is running in the background. What is that? Oh, the work I was doing. So let it run. Here, let's go see. This is the software. And so when you want to install it in an automated fashion, you have to go through, read the handy guide for installation. It tells you the famous 5-minute installation. And yes, you do these things by hand, but we want to do nothing by hand. So what we need to do is to understand what this thing is. And so we can go follow the 5-minute installation, but that is not going to be automatic. I want it to become completely automatic. So we will need to know what is necessary to make things happen. So before you even install and get this thing to run, we need you to have these things, right? You need to have, these things you need to have. So you need to have a server that with access to it by shell or FTP, and then create a database, create a text editor, an FTP client, and the dependencies that are needed to make this run are the minimum requirements here. So we just click on that minimum requirements, and it'll tell us that minimum requirements are PHP, and then MySQL, and then HTTPS support, and a web server of some sorts, Nginx or Apache, or one of those guys. And you also need the database. And so database will be using MySQL server database. And so that's what the things that we need to be actually creating in our desired state configuration here in our kitchen. So we can then push our kitchen to the cloud chef server here, and then magic will happen. But we need to really be detailed about writing down every single idea that we have in our head into the kitchen, and then push it to the chef server, and then invoke that one command and be done with it. That's the ultimate goal that we're trying to go towards. So with that in mind, let us begin with closing some of these windows. And here. And so this is the idea of a chef file. This is basically just like Burke's file, like Burke file, same thing here, librarian chef, same concept. What it does is similar to Burke's file and Burke's install. This is the librarian install. It does the same thing. In our folder here, we need to have a new file created. That file will be called chef file, like right there. new file. File will be different from Burke's file. It will be called chef file. It will contain very similar content. The content structure or syntax is this. And here you will see what I have is a list of books necessary for us to get this exercise to work correctly. And that book, that exercise is to make sure that we get these books loaded up. Like you remember this this thing that we had discussing in WordPress. The dependencies are really, you need to have a Linux box, you need to have Apache running, you need to have PHP, or rather MySQL, and you need to have PHP running. So these are the requirements. If you look at this phrase LAMP, that's the acronym people throw at. We need to have a LAMP stack. That's what they really mean by a LAMP stack, is that you need to have Linux and Apache and MySQL and PHP. Those are the things that are necessary for a product like this, WordPress, to function correctly. So we need to have a method to get these components loaded in the right order, in the right way. So getting a Linux machine is basically starting a new machine in some cloud. So that's how you need to handle that. We'll use Chef to instantiate a new machine in some cloud. And that's the L part, the Linux part. Next, we need to have a cookbook called Apache to get the A taken care of. We need to also have a MySQL cookbook to install the MySQL pieces. And of course, that means we need to have a data bag, an encrypted data bag, which stores our password information secretly and in secure fashion. And then, it will be provided to the MySQL installation at the runtime when it gets installed, so that we know how to access our database. And all of this is done automatically. So there is no person there sitting and typing the password. There is no such thing. So we need to have a systematic method to provide the password to that database. And it to take it from a data bag, which is going to be encrypted, because we need to be pushing the data bag out to Chef server. And Chef server is not controlled by us. It's controlled by some company. So I don't want to give them my password. So I will encrypt the password before I give it to them. So those are the actions you will see us do it. And then PHP. That also is another cookbook. So PHP cookbook, MySQL cookbook, Apache cookbook are the three cookbooks we need. That's the listing right here. We have the PHP cookbook, the MySQL cookbook, and the Apache cookbook are the three essential cookbooks we need to have. And all other cookbooks are dependencies. I just wrote down an exhaustive list of all the books I need because it stabilizes the repeatability of the exercise. So anybody can do this exercise any location at any time, and it will work. For example, I want to get that list of books installed. That list is available in my Chef file, in that file here, and I want to get those books installed. So what do? I say bundle exec, that's a prefix that you already know. And I'll say, hello librarian Chef, please install the books that I need. So librarian will look at the Chef file and go and get the books for us. That's what it is doing right now. If you look carefully in your Atom editor, you will find that a new folder called TMP is created. And this contains all the downloads that are temporarily brought down from the community location, which is basically supermarket. That's the old name for that website. The new name is supermarket, as you know already. But old URLs still work. They're just aliases, CNAME aliases. They'll work. And that's what you're looking at, the temporary folder populated with these books coming down. And we'll now have these books show up in a folder called cookbooks. And that will be created because our knife RB says that we need to store our books in the cookbooks folder. So it already knows to handle that. And that will be created. And that should pop up right there. Looks like I don't have a cookbooks folder here, so I will create that folder just like that. And that folder is now available. And that's where you will see that this librarian will bring our books and place it in the right spot. Let's go discuss further while this librarian is busy grabbing the books. What we need to do is use git command to put that change in a git control. This is again strictly not necessary, so maybe I'll skip it this time and go forward with librarian chef install, which is what is happening right now. And it finished doing that, which means our books are now available in the cookbooks folder, and here are the books available to us, so we can use them. And you notice that there is a difference in between how librarian chef does gather books and how Bookshelf does gather books. Subtle differences. Bookshelf doesn't dump the books right here, right away. It brings the books only when needed. Whereas this guy, librarian chef, just dumps it right in the cookbooks folder. So certain behavior differences. And the books did not go to the site cookbooks because that's the place where we store our cookbook creations, not here. That's something to note. So that I think you already know that, because we discussed that in the knife RB section, where this is the precedence given over the cookbooks folder, that section. So with that, our cookbooks are available locally. We want to make sure that we proceed to the next step. And here what we have is, another git step. So I can skip that. It's actually not a great idea to skip, because the primary goal of using git is to learn git. But there is no dependency in our project in this exercise and the git steps. That's why it is okay to skip git, just to save on time, nothing else. If you are into serious business doing using git, you should not skip git. So now, having these books down available in our cookbooks folder, I need to give these books to the chef server, right? So let us check quickly whether my machine will interface with the chef server correctly. So bundle exec, and let us say knife, give me cookbook list, please. It will go to the chef server and say, here are the books you have. And apparently I have a book there called Starter. So this is the book that I ran the other day with an exercise. So I want to get rid of that book because it's kind of pointless to have that starter cookbook. So I will delete all the books I have. And that's a cheat sheet command. You can, of course, use the cheat sheet to delete or do whatever you like. This is a cheat step to just clean up that book called Starter. So now the book is gone. I don't have any books in that. So what I want to do is now upload all the books that I have in my cookbooks folder. And here they go. So all the books are now going up to the chef server. Now at this point, you might ask, why are you asking me, or rather a user, why is chef asking the user to send cookbooks to the chef server when the books actually came from the chef community? Why can't the chef server get the books directly? That sometimes people ask that question. Like, why is this chef software forcing me as a user to send the cookbooks over to the chef server? Why can't chef server get the books directly from the community site or the supermarket? Why ask me? And so if that's the question, the response to that is primarily that chef server does not have a mind of its own. In fact, you need to have a mind of your own, and you need to decide what is in your mind, and you need to dictate what goes in the chef server. Chef server is merely a storage location for your mind, whatever you have in your desire. So whatever you desire, your desired state configuration needs to be stored in bunch of cookbooks, bunch of things, roles, data bags, this and that, and environments. And you saw that folder, right? All the folder structure that you see here. So that's what contains your desire in various places, like roles, site cookbooks, environment, data bag, cookbooks, and all that. So you dictate. Chef server doesn't. It is merely a container for your desire. So you need to have a mind of your own, and you need to make sure that nobody else has a mind of their own, so that your desire will be implemented. That's why, chef server doesn't go and grab books on its own. You have to give your books like this to the chef server. So like now that it has the books, we can proceed forward. And in the next step, let's see what's the next step. The next step is to create environments. Environments basically mean, I can have, maybe this is my cloud. And in that cloud, I have some portion of machines here. These are my development boxes. And some other machines, these are my test boxes or test boxes. And this large collection of machines I have here all the way, they are my production boxes. And so I have to classify my collection of machines across this collection of that I have, total collection that I have. I need to classify certain machines like these guys as my production area or environment. My production environment needs to be applied as a label to these boxes and not here, not here. And so that I can play with different configuration in various places according to the choice of my environment. Like, for example, if I'm testing something, I will put that machine in a test environment and then I'll run some test code, and that doesn't disturb the production because I don't want to disturb here at all. I don't want anybody to even log into SSH here at all. Literally never. Unless there is absolutely need to go, then you log into a machine like that in a production configuration. Otherwise, you will never SSH into the production setup at all. Unless there is something really, really wrong and you some mistake that you cannot figure out why it's not working. In that case, of course, you have to go there. But you should design your systems in such a way that there should not be any person ever who needs to go SSH into a production box, ever. Everything in the production area should be automatically done, and put that in Git control, and you play it systematically so that it happens by itself. And you or your team members don't need to go there. There is absolutely zero need for any human being to muck around with the production box. That's how you should remember and do this. Like, no mucking around with the production setup. Only thing that will go and play with it is automation, that you write down your desire and put that in a Git repository and control it strictly. And this implements your desire in production. So if you want to change something in production, you have to go back to your drawing board and make that change happen right here. That's your changed desire. And then you put that in a Git repository and control it nicely. And then you push it to do whatever you want, and the automation will play itself. You made a mistake, you roll back in the Git repository and let the automation play itself. And you want to make a new idea, you insert that new idea, make that change in your Git repository and push it. The automation should play the change. Automation should pick your new idea and implement. But you are not going to the production area yourself at all. In fact, that's how you should design your systems, that you don't need to go. Nobody, even the super duper admin of your company, should not be going to the production area. Because the way I think about it is that the moment a human being touches a production machine, that the machine becomes dirty cow, and you need to shoot it. That's how humans are. They make things dirty. You are touching a machine by SSH, you just made it dirty. The reason you should think like this, not that humans are dirty, but that the machine becomes dirty just because you connected to it. You did nothing, absolutely nothing. You just connected SSH. Just because you have a private key, that means you can connect, doesn't mean you should connect. And why am I going so nerdy about, don't go there? Why am I doing that? Because I'm actually trying to drive a point. The point is simple, like this. You have two people in your teams, for example. There's human number one and human number two. The problem with humans going to a machine in production is that they create entropy. Or in other words, or in simple words, disorder. Or another word for it is noise. Or another word is uncertainty. Or another word is unknown. We don't know what you're doing there when you connect to a machine in production SSH. This person has no idea what this person is doing. because they are different people. So the only way to make a change in production is to go back to a collaboration setup, collaborate in a Git repository, agree upon a change, both of us, and then push through automation. Then both human beings will know that, okay, we agreed upon this. So that's an agreement right there. And that is in our Git repository now. And so it goes out to the cloud in the production machines. And then everybody is okay because they know exactly. And there is no disorder, no noise, no uncertainty, no unknown, no entropy. And your systems are clean because they are predictably clean because you're not going there yourself. A human being goes in one of the machines and you maybe by accident make a change or something, this other guy will have no idea what you changed. So therefore you should not be doing it. Like, don't touch the production machines at all, ever. But to get to that point, you need to go there and you need to figure out what needs to happen so that I don't need to go to the production machine directly myself ever. And that's how you should plan ahead and put that in your Git repository, in your kitchens, in your whatever other tools we'll use. They all basically operate the same way, is that you have to have the discipline to not muck around with the production. That discipline comes through practice. So back here, we have our books uploaded. And now what I want to do is to create environments for our infrastructure, which means I need to create a new file in the environment folder. And I'll just do it by hand here, new file. This will describe my development environment. So dev.rb is the file name that pops up in the environment folder right there. And it is empty right now. So I'll fill it up with some content. And here it is. It's very, very simple, like that. All it does is just describes what the name of the environment is. In this example, dev. And the file name, dev.rb. It sits in the environment folder. And here description can be anything you like whatever you like, doesn't matter. But it needs to make sense to human beings. So that's why you have to have the description. That's the only reason why we have it. It's actually strictly not necessary. Just classification of something as development environment helps you classify your machines better and define your environment usage this way. That's the dev.rb. We'll create two more files, just like that. New file called stage.rb and another new file called production.rb. And these two files, the production and stage, we'll just fill it up with content that is actually very, very simple. Here is your production content. And we will fill up in the production file and save it, close it, and then the staging content, which is also simple. Just paste it, save it, close it. And that's why we have dev.rb, production.rb, stage.rb. Now what I want to do is that I want to push these environments into my Chef server. If you now look at here and say bundle, exec, knife, typo, there we go. Show me the list of environments I have in my Chef server, and I have nothing but one. That's the default environment. And so what I want to do is to send my environments out to the Chef server. And one thing I want you to remember is your current working directory needs to match up with the Chef repo, the kitchen that you're working with. If you're not in the right location, these commands will not work. So I am actually uploading 3 of these environments in one shot by copying, pasting multiple lines like that, one after the other. And it is going to take these 3 environments and just dump it in the Chef server. And as a consequence, now I have 3 environments in addition to the default environment, like that, dev, prod, stage, 3 of them. And now we'll go to the next step. In this next idea, what we are doing is to define a role for our machines. What's a role? A role is basically a way to label a machine to describe its function or purpose in life. When a machine grows up, like starts a new machine, it is just enough operating system. It is basically like an embryo. And you want this embryo to grow up to become something like a lion or a tiger or maybe an Apache web server. I'm just using these biologically incorrect analogies because that's wrong. But yeah, a new machine, just enough Linux, and you want that to become an Apache web server, you know how to do that. You have done an exercise already. So that's the idea. We want to put this machine become a web server. Or you can, think of it this way, is that I want to put a bunch of web servers. And so that becomes a role that I will apply to all the machines here, M1, M2, M3, like that. And all these machines will magically become Apache web servers because the role definition actually says you grow up to become an Apache web server. So then when the new machines pop up here, 1, 2, 3, and more, they will all become web servers. That's the role creation idea. We'll have another role like that, pretty much like that. We'll call it database role. And we'll apply that to a new machine here, M37 maybe. And hey, you, that's your role. That's your purpose in life. So when you grow up and bring up yourself, you're not just enough operating system, but you are also running MySQL. And you're not just running MySQL, but you're also incorporating a database root password and a password chosen by me. And that is kept safely in a safe location. The location happens to be a data bag. And the bag is encrypted with an encryption key. And that bag itself is stored in the chef server. So you can grab your root password and set up this MySQL and install it on this Just Enough OS. Then it becomes a database role. That's the role definition we'll write. And that role will be taken up by this machine. That becomes our database server. That's the underlying idea behind these roles that I'm going to create. And then there's going to be one more role. That one more role is kind of my idea of a base role. This is the minimum thing that I need to have on every machine that I have in my cloud. For example, my favorite editor. I need this editor on every box. My favorite tool, I need to have on every machine. I need to have some other things, like some exotic things that some people like. You can totally put all these things in a base role so that every machine you will ever have will have Git, will have VI, like that. And so this Just Enough operating system will be added with VI, will be added with Git and other things you might prefer to have on every single box on your cloud. And that's defined in a common role definition called the base role. That's my word of choice. And that's what we are going to do now is what is this? Okay, artifacts of, okay, this finished successfully. And what is this? Yeah, so we created environments. We now want to create roles. Roles go here in the roles folder right there. And there I will create new files. The file is called base role. And another file called web role. I think it's just web.rb. And the file name, I have to go and cross-check what files I have used in the lesson. I like to stick to the same ones, not make new ones. And so here is the role definition. One of the roles is called base role, and the other role is called web server role. We need to have the name clear, not just web role, but web server role. That name is important. You cannot call it a web server. I need to rename it to web server because I don't want to confuse you. Actually, technically speaking, these names are irrelevant. You can call it whatever you like because they are immaterial. But for people who are doing this program, I have written it down as web server. So if I use some other name, it might confuse them. That's the only reason why it is important to use the exact same name. There is no other reason. You can choose whatever names you like. As long as you understand what you're doing, totally fine with it. But I need to stick to these names because I don't want to confuse you guys. That's the web server role, and I have one more role here called db_master. That's the master database server. So that's the role I'll be adding here, new file called db_master role, and that's the 3 role definition files currently empty. I will fill them up. In the first role, I have this section, which I will copy first and then discuss it in the base role. What I'm really doing is saving it here and closing it. But before I close, I want to talk about it. And this is the base role. Let's go look at what it contains. As you can see, the line number 5 contains apt. And what is apt? So apt is basically the idea of getting to a Linux box like this, for example, SSH, some Linux box, and then in that box you need to update that box. So let me just get to some box here, which is my box. So here is a Linux box, and in there I can potentially run update. The update I run is through apt update, like that. That's the action to update that box. So I can go run apt update if I want to, like this, and it will update the box like it's doing right now. And that's what I just did. So I want to do this action of updating the box itself automatically, for which there is a cookbook called apt. And that's what I'm referring to in here, that cookbook. That cookbook, by the way, is helping me update my machines. And that's this cookbook called apt. And that was listed already in my chef file, because that was the first thing I did. Is at any time I get a new box, like this M37, for example, or this M3, or any of the boxes, as they get up and they come online with just enough operating system, the first thing I want to do is to update them. So I get all the latest patches right there. That's the underlying logic of using the apt cookbook in the list of cookbooks. And in my run list for the base role, I'm defining and asking the default recipe in the apt cookbook to be executed as a part of the run list on every single box. That is the base role. It applies to every box I will ever have in my cloud, which means just update all the boxes automatically. That's the idea. Apt. The second thing I see is line number 6 is my tool of choice, Git. I need Git on every box. So I have this chef file that I can see that contains a reference to Git cookbook. And Git cookbook is available right here in our list of cookbooks, right there. That Git cookbook is there. I can just use it to install Git on every box, because that is my base role. And this base role will be applied to every box. So every box will be up to date. Every box will have Git. Every box will have build essential. This build essential is a list of essential software necessary to build other software, like to run a compiler or something like that, or maybe compile some new product, or you want to run compilation of some new software automatically on demand. You need these dependencies that will make that build action, compile action successful. And that is also in a cookbook. The cookbook is called Build Essential Cookbook, and that we have in our chef file. And so I want to have that set of tools available to me on every box. If I need to build something automatically, I need to have the tools automatically. And that's what I'm doing, accomplishing that to make sure that I have the tools there. And that is Build Essential, line number 7 in the base role. Next idea we have here is sudo. I need to be able to escalate my privileges and elevate my permissions when my commands run there. And they will run through automation. And I won't be there to type the password manually. So I would like to have the super user escalation to also be automated. I don't want the machines to be waiting for me to come and type the password, please. That's not what I want. And so I would like sudo as a cookbook to be executed. And sudo is a cookbook right there, which I've included in the chef file, because it allows me for passwordless escalation of privileges based on private key, public key authentication. So I will have my tools go and do the super user escalation of privileges when necessary. But that cookbook called sudo will allow me the ability to have my automation do it for me, and don't wait for me to type the password because I may be in Hawaii or some other place. So that's the point, is that you want this automation to happen. And so you are basically listing out things that are necessary for your automation to work automatically. And that needs to be happening on every box. So that's the base role. Next idea is your idea about creating a user. And for that, you want you to be a user on every box. Every machine out there in any cloud, and you need to be a user on those boxes. Otherwise, how will you log in if you need to log in? And therefore, we have a cookbook called users, which allows you to create a sysadmin user on all these boxes. So every box that starts up like a just enough box not only gets Git, not only gets VI, but also gets build essential, a sudo, your user created as a sysadmin. And so you get all these things happening automatically because you're putting them in the base role. Users : sysadmins. That means you will be running the sysadmins recipe in the users cookbook. And that sysadmins recipe in the users cookbook is right here. That's what we'll be running. And what it does is basically creates a sysadmin user with your name. And it has two actions, to remove and to create. So both actions can be done automatic fashion if you need to. And we are just adding that capability on every box. And the next thing I am doing is recipe called Vim, which is my favorite editor, VI, that will be installed on every box. Then I'm adding some override attributes with specific authorization for sudo so that I don't have to type the passwordless for the user called Ubuntu. So when a user called Ubuntu logs in, which is going to be me, or another user, I have a vagrant user, so that's another name you can have, or you can include other users that will not be forcing them to ask for a password. Passwordless authorization is overridden through this expression, and that authorization override is applicable to the sudo cookbook, this one, which will allow these users that you listed here to go and connect and elevate privileges without having to type their password manually, because they may be actually automated users like Ubuntu, for example, or a vagrant. So any automated user who needs to log in and run automation tools for you needs to have elevation capability without having to type the password by hand, because they are robots. They're not people. And so that's the underlying idea behind this override attribute, which is a part of the base role. So it gets applied to every box. So that's the underlying idea behind the base role. Now we'll talk about the other roles. For example, the web server role. And here we have a web server role. In that role, what we have is, first of all, let me save and then read. I have a role name called web server, which is a file called webserver.rb. And in there we have, in all environments, whether it is development, staging, production, or God knows what, I'm doing these steps, number 5 through 10, in all environments. That's the expression idea here. And I'm assigning my run list for all environments, basically meaning that my run list will apply to all environments and it will contain these things. What does that thing contain? Line number 5. It contains the base role itself, meaning any web server needs to actually have the base role already applied as the first thing. And next, you get the PHP recipe, which means The way to read that is actually the default recipe in the PHP cookbook. And the PHP cookbook is mentioned right here, which means we have the cookbook right here. That's our PHP cookbook. And it has a recipe called default, which is what we are invoking in that segment. Is this recipe will allow us to install PHP on the target machines, because that's what we want. Because that's what WordPress tells us, that you need to have a web server running PHP. So we will install PHP. That's the idea, line number 6. Then we will also make sure that our web server is able to interface with a database server using the PHP language, for which we need to have line number 7 as a module for PHP to interface and talk to MySQL, the server, MySQL server, database server. It needs to have this module installed on PHP. So for which there is a recipe called module MySQL in the PHP cookbook. You can see it here. There is a recipe called module MySQL right there in the PHP cookbook. That is this module MySQL. And it's a part of the PHP cookbook. And that will install the ability for PHP to interact with MySQL database server, either on the same box or some other box. It doesn't have to be the other box. It can be also on the same box. It doesn't have to be like M37 as a database server. You can actually install database server and web server and Apache and all of these things just on one box. And that coexists just fine. But that's more of an academic case. In practice, you will have multiple boxes with each and everything. We have exercise for that also. It's built in. But we'll begin with just small. We'll put all these things in just one box. The one box will be Linux, Apache, PHP, MySQL, and WordPress. All of that in one box, and it will just run. And you can see it on a browser and operate on it just live. That will happen when you run that one command at the end. That will create this box with all the things necessary, and it will bring up a new WordPress site. But then we will extend the exercise for production runs, and then you will have a database running separately and have the two machines connect to each other. And all those steps are written down. You need to understand them and follow through to get the concept right. Once you understand them and follow through at least once, you really, really understand what to do it in real life, how to do it in real life. So this Apache thing is another cookbook. The Apache cookbook is actually invoked here in the chef file. It's available right there in our list of cookbooks here. And there is a recipe called default, which is what we're invoking right there. And that's the Apache cookbook invoked on the web server, which makes it a web server actually, Apache web server. So a new box gets the web server role, will automatically become the base box containing all the base necessities. Then adds PHP, PHP module MySQL, Apache mod Apache. Let's read that carefully. It is Apache 2 mod PHP 5. So that's the modification for PHP 5 to interface with Apache to make Apache server listen to and talk to PHP language. And then the last one. This idea is called mod rewrite. So there are these mods or modules in PHP and in Apache that will help Apache server do different things. For example, this one lets Apache interface and read PHP language. And this one lets Apache server rewrite the URL in a cleaner fashion. What does that mean? You may have seen such URLs that go like http://somewebsite.com/ this and equal to that and all that. And sometimes you have tilde in between and then more letters after that, like that. That's an ugly way to write a URL. A clean URL would be something like this. Like here is an example. So let's go copy that URL out and dump it here somewhere. Oops, what did I open? What is this? Close. So let's go open it. So new file and paste. So that's a clean URL. As you can see, It doesn't have any ugly characters in the URL. It is very clean. It has a site name and then /lesson and /define your roles for your machine. So it's very clearly articulates the idea, as opposed to having some ugly characters like this or some question marks in here. You may have seen such URLs. Now that's ugly to read. And that uglification, the cleaning action is actually done through a rewrite step. That ugly URL is rewritten like this clean URL. And that is what we want in our websites, to make them look easy to read. Even the URL should be easy to read. And that's the whole idea behind line number 10 in the web server RB, is that we are using a mod rewrite module to rewrite these URLs in a clean way. Like this, for example. And then you will see that you can even further customize this definition of your environments by specifying that when I am debugging something in my development environment, maybe I need to use something different like this line shows. And what I'm really doing with this line is to allow a new module called module X debug. And that debug module allows me to debug PHP code in my development environment if I need to. If I'm testing, debugging, developing something, I need to debug my code, for which I need this new module for PHP debugging. So I'll install that only for the development environment machines, so that all my dev boxes already have the debugging capability, and I don't need debugging on the other boxes. So I don't have this line on other environments, only the dev environment. That's the underlying concept behind this idea. So I'll close the web server file now and look at the last file in the roles section, which is a database master. And that is this. Copying that, bringing it here, and save. Now here it's actually a very short one compared to the other guys, because I have just one thing in mind, and that is to create this box number 37 that I had here. I want that box to become a database server. So I will assign that box 37 to become my database server. And what I will do is call this role db_master. That's the name I had chosen. It needs to match up with the file name dbmaster.rb, which it does. Then I have a description, and I have an all environment definition, which basically says that I need to have these two things in my box, which is going to become my database server, that box. So in that box, I need to have, of course, the base role applied, so that it just gets all the basic capabilities necessary for me to just deal with it. All the basic things that I need already, which are written down in my base role, which is, you already know that, apt, git, build essentials, sudo, sysadmin user, editor. That's my basic necessity. So I have it even in the database box. Don't have to go that way, but I just like it this way. So I do it this way. All you really need is recipe. And what is this? Your SQL as opposed to MySQL, you mean? And that is something that we haven't discussed yet. So the idea behind this your SQL is actually, it is actually MySQL. So think about this way. This thing is a play on words. The word is MySQL, but I've chosen to use a different word just to tease a little point. The point is that I want to override this. So that book is already available in our cookbooks folder. This one, already available. What I want to do is create a new cookbook and put that in here. And that is going to be your SQL as opposed to MySQL. And I want you to override this in a fashion that it actually changes and uses your password. that you have set in your data bag, that you will set in your data bag here in the data bags folder. And that password needs to be encrypted and stored with the chef server. And that is what you want to be using in your SQL. So you need to actually write a cookbook by this name. It's going to be a new cookbook that you will write. And that is what we are referring to here, is a your SQL cookbook, the default recipe in your SQL cookbook that you will create right here. And that is what will be used in the database master role. And that's pretty much it. I mean, there's base role and there's your SQL. This your SQL is basically an override on MySQL. And that book is that cookbook doesn't exist yet, not ready yet. We haven't done it yet. So we'll create it, but right now it is missing. Just want you to understand that it's missing. Having said, I'm going to clear my drawing that I just made using green colored pen. I'm going to clear all this and resume. What I was doing is I want to save this database master role, which I did. And then I want to send my role definition out to the chef server. So here is my chef server, or rather the way to send it is, first of all, check the roles that I have in my chef server. So what roles do I have? Probably nothing, just a starter role. So you can delete that role if you don't like it. For example, I will delete that role. I don't like the starter role anymore. I used to like it yesterday, day before, but not anymore. So I'll delete that role. So it's gone. And now what I want to do is, after having cleaned it up, I will check what do I have, and I have nothing. And so I will send my new 3 roles right there. And so it's going to send base role and web server role and database master role out to the chef server. And now I will go to the web chef server website and also ask this guy, what is the list of roles I have? And you will see that it gives us 3 answers: base role, database master role, web server role. So it knows about the 3 roles that we have. And I will go to the administration section, look at my current organization, then go to the policy section, identify my roles. And I have the base role. Nice. I have a web server role. Awesome. And I have this database master role, which is, ouch, cookbook not found. That's a good one. We know the cookbook doesn't exist, and therefore cookbook is not found because I don't have it yet. Right there, site cookbooks is empty. I did not create a role, did not create a cookbook yet, but the book is mentioned right here called your SQL. But where is your SQL? It doesn't exist yet. So we need to create that in the site cookbooks folder ourselves. And then once we create and then send it to the chef server, this error will disappear. Currently it says cookbook not found, upload or remove from the run list. No, I don't want to remove it. I would send you a new book, don't worry. So I'll go to the next session. Next section I want to do is to set up a sysadmin user. And I just want to caution everybody that this particular step is the stumbling block for like 50% people who do this exercise. Half of the people will stumble on something in this page. I'll tell you where exactly they stumble. And they get stuck. And then it doesn't work for them. The reason it doesn't work is bad copy paste. There is no other reason. Now let's go to that point where we are going to do this section of the exercise, of this sysadmin user exercise. What we are really doing here is to actually create a sysadmin user, which means we need to have a method to systematically provide our public key in a data bag. Our data bag is empty right now, but we need to create a new data bag and populate it with a public key. You know what a public key is, like this. This file is our public key. So we want to send this item in a bag and give it to the chef server. Say, hey, this is my public key. Please take it, keep it. So that when I go to a machine out there in the cloud somewhere, I should be allowed in, right? You should just inject this key out there so I can just connect. So please take my public key, keep it with you. And so that's the key, public key, not the private, public. So I want to copy this public key carefully from here all the way up to this point. Not these guys. I don't want that piece. Just that's the whole point that I want to point out, is that when you copy and paste, you have to be extremely careful that you do not paste anything other than this segment. If you miss even a tiny little piece after that, and don't get the space here, don't get the user at CG, and you will be happy that you did not. And so just focus, only begin from SSH RSA all the way to the end of the fingerprint of the public key and copy that. That's the portion, is the critical portion. Once we have that in our hand, what we want to do is go back to the data bags folder, and we want to create a folder there called users, plural. This will contain multiple users in the bag called users. So that's the bag. The bag is empty. So what I want to do is create a new item in there. The item will be called user.json, because that's the name of the user. The user is, who am I? The name is user. That's the reason why we have to have the name of the user as user. And therefore, the file name is user.json. And it's created in a users data bag there. Users bag, user.json. And that needs to be populated with something. One of the things that I would like to fill it up with is the public key. Like here, for example. And I have the key pasted there, but then I have to be careful that I don't just paste like that. Don't. But you have to follow along this structure of writing the public key in this JSON. And so what I want to actually do is to fill up that public key in the right spot. Where does it go? This public key needs to go in line number 7. Or rather 3, I should say. And you have to make sure that you paste it very, very carefully like that. Paste it there in the highlighted section. You want to make sure that at the end of this paste, whatever you paste here, that after that, there is a closing double quote and a comma and a new line after that. That's the section you want to fill it up with your public key. Like this, one shot, one line, like that. Save. Go to the end of the line. Examine that you have a double closing quote and a comma. And then you see that you have done it correctly. And then save. And now read. So what do we have here? There is an ID called user, which is the user JSON. That's the item in your data bag called users. That's a bag, users. It has one user defined. The username is user. The public key is this, which is the key I pasted. It belongs to the groups called sysadmin, DBA, DevOps. It has a UID of 2001. And when this user logs in, they are presented with a bash shell. That's the detail I want to set in my user data bag item in the users bag. Users bag, user JSON data bag item. You can do the same steps on the command line here. I did it visually for you. In the editor, you can do these things in command, just like by following along this sequence. If you follow those steps in the command line here, you will accomplish the same idea. Now, having done this part, what I want to do is to make this caution very clear. Is you want to paste it like this. See that pasting? As opposed to and not like this. So don't get your email address portion like user at CG or something else. You don't want that. And then you want to do a git commit, which you can skip. And then you want to list out all the items and all the data bags that you might have in your Chef server. So right now we have nothing. So we'll get nothing. And then what I want to do is create a bag in the Chef server. That's the user's bag getting created in the Chef server. This is just creating a bag. It doesn't have any item in there. So I want to send an item in there. The item we want to send is right there in our folder. We know that already. We created it manually. And that item goes to the Chef server. I'm missing a D at the beginning. I need to break this line and copy the thing properly. So breaking it, copying the thing properly like this. Bundle exec knife data bag from file users data bags like that. And so here we go, paste it, and then user data bags called user JSON. So that's the command you want to copy from here and paste it like that. What it does is, by the way, this command is also in the cheat sheet. You can see the cheat sheet describes you how to send a data bag item to the Chef server. So bundle exec knife data bag from file, and then the bag name. It is very clumsy. I actually don't like the way of writing. This is so clumsy to understand. But what we are really doing is bundle exec prefix, knife, data bag, data space bag, from file, the user's bag, and then the location of the file is data bags / users / user.json. That's the way to send a bag send the item in this bag that we have created already. So now the bag item goes and fits in the bag. Awesome. But really bad syntax. I mean, that's what we have with Chef. So we cannot do much about it. That's the way to do it. Which means in our Chef server, we have a new bag called users, which contains the item called user, which contains our public key and a bunch of other things. That's what we wrote in here, right there. And that's what shows up in the Chef server, just like that. Users bag, user item. And if you're paying careful attention, you will catch something here. $user.json, and I did not type $user. What's up with that? So let me tell you, what is this? So if you echo $user, what you will see is a response of the current user's username, which is just lowercase user. That's what I mean by $user JSON is the actual currently logged in user. If you look at this other terminal, which is a Macintosh terminal, and here, actually, this is not Macintosh. So let's come out of it. This is Macintosh terminal. And here you will see the name of the $user is not user, but it is the username of the machine on Macintosh, which happens to be Cloud Genius. That's a different user. So whatever the currently logged in user is, it is expressed as a $user expression in the environment. That's the idea that we have it written down like that. So it can be generalized to other machines that don't have the user. Like here, for example, user. That's the name of the user in this machine, but other machines may be different. And so if it is different, you write it like this here, $user. So it picks up the currently logged in user automatically and creates a bag with that item name. With that done, let's go skip next. So next lesson. And now comes the interesting parts, which actually you have tried it once. We'll try it one more time. This interesting part is to create an encrypted data bag containing our own passwords. We have done it once before. We'll do it again with a real live production situation. We'll actually put a super secret password in an encrypted data bag and push it to the Chef server. But before we do that, we need to have an encryption key. We don't have it quite yet. Our chef repo folder, this folder, the .chef folder, doesn't have an encryption key. So we'll create one like that. And it creates an encryption key and puts that in the .chef folder under the name encrypted data bag secret. So now we have that file here. And we don't want to give that file to other people, so we can actually put that in a git ignore. Pretty much that means that you want to copy this name and put that in the git ignore file, so that your encryption data bag secret also doesn't go to GitHub or other Git repositories, unless you want to give it to other people, which is a different case, but don't, because this is encryption secret. It is secret, so don't give it. So this is the secret. I will use it to encrypt my bag, and I will not give it to Git commits like this, because I listed it out. And it's a good idea to actually put this alongside other entries like that. So it's easier to read and remember what we are hiding from Git. Having done this piece, I will now make sure that I change the permissions of that encryption secret to 400, which is to allow only me to read. And then I will go back to my knife RB here and look at the last line. The last line says to uncomment this line after you created an encryption secret. So now we have a secret created. So I can remove this line and then save. So now a chef will know that my secret file is that file. And that is awesome. So I'll use it now. Encryption key is available. So I can now use it pretty much like this here. And this is again another long, really long command. The command is to create an encrypted data bag in the chef server. And by the way, we don't even have it here. In our bags folder, data bags folder, we have one bag called users, which contains one item called user.json. That's the only bag we have. Don't have any other bags. And we are going to create one more bag, and we are going to create it remotely, not in our laptop, not here, just remotely creating a new file there. And that's what we will be doing in this command, which you're copying, pasting from there. And what it does is actually opens up an editor, the gedit editor. In that editor, I will fill it up with content. And that's the content that goes in the item called MySQL in a bag called secrets. Item called MySQL and bag name is secrets. That's where it will go once I fill it up. So I am going to run this command. You will find that in my local folder, I will have nothing in the data bags, literally nothing new. But I will still create a new data bag encrypted item in the chef server like that. So I run it, and then something happens. It's a bag created. It says, tells me bag created called secrets. And then an editor opens up. This editor contains an ID called MySQL, but nothing much. So I want to fill it up with secret passwords. And here is my secret super duper password called 123. So I save it. Once I save it, the file is actually getting saved right in the chef server in Seattle. I think that's where they are. They are in the Amazon cloud somewhere. So maybe not Seattle, somewhere else. But the company chef is in Seattle. They manage the chef server. So that chef server here should have a new bag called secrets containing a new item called MySQL. That's this item. As soon as I save it and close it, you will see a new item created in the bag called secrets, item called MySQL, show up. So saving it, and it says, here, bag called secrets created, an item called MySQL created. So we can just see it here visually. And we refresh to see that we now have a new bag called secrets, which contains an item called MySQL, and it has the ID called MySQL, but we typed in something like that looks like this, right? This is what we typed, 123, 123 and all that. And so if you now look at the bag item called MySQL and expand the dev and the where is the 123 gone? 123 is gone. Our passwords are encrypted. I cannot see them because they are already encrypted and stored in this bag called secrets. So I have my passwords, but I cannot see them, which is the exact idea that I don't want anybody in the chef company to see my passwords. They're managing this service. So they have the data bag, they have my secrets, and they cannot read it because they don't have my encryption key. So even though we have given them the bag, they cannot really understand what's in the bag. Now, if for some chance, if you make a mistake in creating this bag item remotely, you need to delete it like this. So you delete the secret item and the bag, and then do it again if you make a mistake. Apparently, I did not make a mistake. So what I want to do is keep a local copy of that bag. I still don't have it here. It got created remotely. So the bag contains only the user's bag with the user item, but nothing else. I need to have a secrets bag in the bags folder. So I need to create a new folder called secrets. And that's just an empty folder right now. I want to fill it up. Fill it up with what? Fill it up with the actual value of the item. So if I just say, hey, show me my item, it will show you the item. And it is decrypting it automatically on the fly as it comes out. If you don't have the decryption key in the knife RB, it will not be able to decrypt. You can actually check that. If you go back here and go to knife RB and don't use the decryption key for now, for example, and so just save it with a hashtag to begin with, and save and close, and now go back here and try. You will see encrypted items popping out because it says encrypted data bag detected, but no secret provided for decoding. So displaying encrypted data. Now go back here in knife RB and remove the hashtag and save. Now go back here and run it again, and you will see the actual values 1, 2, 3. Because encrypted data bag detected, decrypting with the provided secret. So you get 1, 2, 3 now. But this structure that we are receiving right now is not JSON. It just in some format, it just dumps your Debian replication and root passwords, and then production and IDs in the middle, and the dev is on top. That's not how you want to write a JSON. So if you want to write this and express this in a JSON format, you want to output that in the output format being JSON, FJ. So it dumps it in the JSON format, like that. So what you want to do is capture that and save it in a file in your data bags folder in your secrets bag under the name MySQL item. And so what you want to do is take this output, redirect it to the data bags folder in the secrets bag, and the item name will be mysql.json. So we now have that item sitting in our folder called secrets. And the item is unencrypted. Chef server has it encrypted. We don't. We have the actual value, 1, 2, 3. We can figure it out. We can read it. Humans can read it. But I don't want anybody else to read it. So we have a copy with the chef server, but they have no clue what the actual value is. They don't need to know. Next, we'll create a custom cookbook. This custom cookbook needs to be created by hand. But don't get scared because there is automation even for that. So we'll just use Chef to create a cookbook for us. And so we'll write this command, say bundle exec knife cookbook create. Create what? Create a cookbook called Your SQL. That's the book name. So we'll say, okay, create it for me, and it creates it for us. And it's there, available right here. And it contains a lots of things already written for us. And if you look at the metadata, it will have your name, your maintainer, your license that you chose already. And this thing comes from the knife RB. You know, this knife RB has this cosmetic detail provided already that just gets picked up automatically. And the book is available right here. And we have our recipes folder with the default RB already created and a bunch of other things. So that is the your SQL cookbook. But this book doesn't do anything. It's just a template book. So we want to make it do something. What do we want to really do? Let's go understand why we have this book itself to begin with. We have this book because we want to override the default behavior of MySQL cookbook. By default, it just installs, and there are some defaults chosen by people in the community, and that's what will be run if you don't override. But I want to change it, and with the override that I have in my mind, I want to use it, make it use my passwords that I have stored in an encrypted data bag, and the password I want is 123, and I have it chosen and written down, encrypted, put that in a what? In a data bag, this data bag encrypted in the Chef server. I want to use that data bag. And so I want to override it. Doesn't mean I want to overwrite. That's not what I want. I want to override it. So basically, I want to use most of the existing cookbook as is. In here, in the default recipe, I want to use the actual cookbook just like that. Almost just like that, except there's going to be a little change. And that change is what I want to focus on. So right now, I want to use that existing MySQL cookbook as is. I'll include this line. Oops. What just happened? Cancel. No. I want to copy only this one line. Okay, like that. Yeah. So what I want to do is in our default RB and the new cookbook called Your SQL recipe default in there, I want it to operate just like Your SQL cookbook. So I would like to have this line there. That's it. What this line will do is just run the SQL server recipe in the MySQL cookbook. Server recipe, MySQL cookbook. Server, MySQL. Server recipe, MySQL cookbook. And I'm just including that recipe in this cookbook. So it will just run that one and do nothing else. But I want to do something before the next line. Next line. Before that next line, 24, I want to do something. What do I want to really do? Is make this use my secret password. We know that 123 password. That's what I really want to use. So that's what I'll be doing is before this other server recipe from the MySQL cookbook gets executed, which is by the way here, your MySQL server recipe is right there, this one. Before this one gets executed, I want to make sure that I do certain things here. And what do I want to do? I want to override the default chosen passwords. If you look at the server recipe in the MySQL cookbook, you will find that you go to the server recipe in the MySQL cookbook recipe server. It uses a bunch of different data. So server root password, server Debian password, server replication password. And these are attributes for the MySQL server root password attribute, MySQL server Debian password attribute, MySQL server replication password attribute. And these attributes are defined in the attribute section right here. And if you look at the default attributes, they are the MySQL server root password is I like random passwords. That's the password apparently chosen by default. I like random passwords. But that's not what I want, because that is like publicly known information. I like random passwords is a well-known password. It's public on GitHub. And this book itself is available on GitHub. That's the MySQL cookbook. And you can see that it just picks up this I like random passwords password by default if you don't change it. So I want it to change the attribute chosen with the one that I want in my data bag, encrypted, stored with the Chef server like this. So line number 21 actually instantiates and loads the MySQL item from a secrets encrypted data bag from the Chef server and assigns it to the variable called secrets. So it just goes to the Chef server, grabs this secrets bag, MySQL item, assigns its values to this expression. And now overriding is very easy. What I'm doing is I'm a node.set MySQL server root password to be the value expressed as MySQL passwords for the root index, which means it is going to read the secrets bag MySQL item and grab the root value from the MySQL passwords expression, which we have, by the way, written down in our data bag. If you recall right there. This is your MySQL root password for production and root password for development, and other environments are not written down, but that's okay. So those are the values it will be picking up from the Chef server MySQL item secrets bag as an encrypted data bag, decrypt it, assign it here, and then override these values. This value to begin with is I like random passwords, but I want it to be 123. So it will become 123, and then it invokes the other recipe, the MySQL server recipe. But before that, we do this. Basically grab the item from the bag, encrypted bag. And that's the only change we are doing, by the way, in our Your SQL cookbook. The only change we did is this. And then asking MySQL Server Cookbook to take its natural course. By doing that, we are overriding the default behavior. The default behavior happens to be cookbook default attributes. I like random passwords. We don't want that. So we override the community provided cookbook with our own cookbook called Your SQL default recipe like this, and then pass control to the server recipe in MySQL cookbook from the community site. Now that we have this new cookbook that we created called Your SQL, we need to send this book to the Chef server, right? Otherwise, Chef server will have no idea what you are talking about. So here we go. Hey, Chef server, take Your SQL cookbook. So it takes it. And now we look at our Chef server and say, hello, what about the item that we had a role called database master? Yeah, no issues with Your SQL now because it is there, available now. The Your SQL cookbook is ready right there. So no complaints. Next, what we want to do is now we are, I think, getting ready to run this thing. So we are almost there to execute that one-liner command, which will actually do all these things for us. So we are getting there. But before that happens, our cloud companies need to know, like this DigitalOcean company needs to know that I intend to use the workstation key, by the way. That's what I want to use. So what I'm doing is focusing on this one key called workstation, and they need to know that I'm going to use that key because that's what I want to grab from here. So I will say, cat my public key and give it to me in my copy buffer like that. And I want to make sure that I add a key pair, and this is probably already existing. So I'm going to give it a name and say add, and it will say error. You already have it. And so error key already in use, which is fine, which is what I exactly wanted to verify, that this key is actually the one I already have. And so that's good. We'll do the same thing with other clouds. Like the other cloud is the Amazon cloud, for example. So we'll go to the Amazon cloud. And there I will log in and go to my account and go to the region of my choice. What's the region of my choice? Let's go check. So region of my choice is in my knife RB. Region of my choice is US East 1. So I'll go to US East 1 in Virginia. And there I check EC2 and verify that my key is available here. And yes, it is there. And I can cross-check by importing the key one more time. Not this. Importing the key one more time. This is a redundant step. I have done it like so many times that I'm just doing it to you because I don't want you to get into trouble in copying and pasting keys and not mess it. This is a critical step. Don't mess with it. So I'm just making sure that this key is already out there and import it again. You can see that the key fingerprint matches, which means that SDF key that I have is kind of the same as this one. So that's awesome, but I don't want two copies of the same thing. So I'll delete the SDF key, and I know that this is the right key. That's good. That's all I wanted to accomplish. Is to give the public key to DigitalOcean. That's the first part of the exercise. We'll do the same thing with the EC2 cloud, which is the second part of the exercise, and keeps on going, multiple clouds. So there's an Amazon exercise and an Azure exercise and multiple machine exercises. And all of these, you can just follow along. But we'll just see in one direction. We'll just follow along as to what we have in the sequence that I have written down here. That's what I will follow. But you can, of course, digress and go different directions. But right now, I'm just going to try this in the DigitalOcean cloud, for which I need to fill up this README other step. I want to create that one-liner command here, something I want to write. And that is what I want to actually execute in my terminal. So it will go and create a WordPress setup in the DigitalOcean cloud. That's what I want to write down, something like this here. In here, and that's what I'm doing right now. So for that, I need to gather certain characteristics like these and these and these things I want to capture. One of the things that I need is similar to this line number 2 in Amazon cloud. So this other step is different from the DigitalOcean cloud. It looks different slightly. And so what I want to do is actually grab this SSH key ID. That is a necessary ingredient. I need to have that. And I cannot locate that key ID anywhere on the DigitalOcean website. In here, it is not visible. The only way you can find it using the chef way, and that way is this command. This is the only way I know of today that will get you the item that I'm looking to get. And that is to run that command and then save it right here. I will save it right there. That is going to be my SSH key ID. And that is available to me for DigitalOcean using, this is the only method I know of. And I get that ID back to me. The ID is this number as what I want. I'll copy that number, put it right here for me for use in the subsequent step. By the way, this is the only way I know to actually come up with that number, which matches your key pair, the public key we gave to DigitalOcean. That number is important. That's what you need to use, this number, like this number. And you need to also double check to clean up your known host file, which I think I already have. So clean your known host file to begin with, and then go next. Now that you have this SSH key ID in hand, like this one from our example, I will now construct that command that I want to actually run. And the command I want to run, I will write that down in this sheet of paper here and save. And now I will start editing it. The key ID that I want to grab is that number. So I'll copy it and paste it right there on top of this old number, which is the number I want to have, which is this. Apart from that, there is not much change I want to do. Not much, except one tiny little bit. I want to check that this company is letting me create a droplet using the version I've chosen, I think this, and in the size I have chosen, which is 1 GB, and in the New York number 2. New York number 2 seems to be unavailable. So I need to worry about, yes.
Sorry, can you just, you started going a little bit too quick for me.
Okay.
Can you go back to the scratch pad, please? Okay, so you pasted the key in the bottom line. That's, okay. Just wanted to make sure I got that right. And then from there, where, can you start over where you were going from there?
So I want to check this number 21. So New York City number 2 is not available currently. So it might change on you. It may be different for you. So you want to go cross-check that the company is allowing you to create a new machine in that region. So New York number 2 is not available to me due to limited availability, disabled creation of droplets. Fine with me. I'll just use number 3 or use San Francisco number 2. Doesn't matter. So I'll use some other location, not New York number 2. This command says New York number 2. So I'll go San Francisco number 2. That works. I'll just change the location. Because the location number 2 for New York is kind of busy and not available. Same with San Francisco number 1 is busy, not available. That's what I just changed with the line number 21. So with that,
with you, thanks.
With that, what I want to do is read this whole thing and cross-check whether my trailing slashes are actually trailing. There should be no other character after the slash. There is, I cannot see any character after the slash, so it looks like okay for me. But let's read this line by line. Bundle exec, knife, DigitalOcean, droplet, create. It's going to create a new droplet in the DigitalOcean. It'll assign a name, abracadabra, to the box. It will use an Ubuntu image. It will select the location San Francisco number 2. Select a size of 512 MB RAM. It will bootstrap the machine, install chef, run chef, all that good stuff. Use the identity file that I have in my local location, which is my private key, and use the SSH key identifier from the code that we obtained from a previous step, like that. That we were able to obtain from this command that got us this number. That's the only way. Line number 12 is the only way to get this number. So I got that number and then I save it here. And I will also change this location because sometimes the locations are booked and busy. With that, we are ready to run and bootstrap a new machine running WordPress. Not really WordPress. We are just getting the foundations. We have Linux, Apache, PHP, MySQL. We didn't even have a cookbook yet for the LAMP stack. It's just the LAMP portion. We did not do anything about WordPress yet. I mean, we need to have that WordPress cookbook also, and other cookbooks also. We'll create them later, but not right now. Right now, we're just getting the LAMP stack up and running. That's what this action will do for us for right now. And we'll then evolve this to do multiple things in the one step. That's what we are building towards. And so in our command line, I will now create. And what this will do is go to the DigitalOcean cloud, start a machine, install Apache, install PHP, MySQL, everything. Basically begin with installing Chef. Then connect to the Chef server, download the kitchen, understand what the run list is, and all that good stuff. It'll do these things, of course. We'll see it how it goes. So let's go run it, by the way. Let's go run it and understand what happens. So let's go hit it. I hit. So I see that a new machine is going to be created and is waiting for droplet creation. The new machine has popped up here. It is called Abracadabra. And that machine is getting ready in 55 seconds or something like that. And then it is, by the way, in San Francisco number 2 already, as you can see. It told me San Francisco, I think. Yeah, right there, SFO number 2. And it is going to generate an IP. IP address is now available. And this guy also has the IP. Now the machine is created, which means it should be getting ready for SSH. And this thing will connect to it. And it will go to the Chef server and do a bunch of things. Let's go see what happens. We'll figure it out. So create a new client, create a new node, connect it to that machine IP address, and then installing Chef, unpacking Chef, and then starting Chef. So Chef first run is going on, and it came back and it did nothing. Like literally nothing. So first time it runs, then it says that, I have a run list. The run list is empty. So I will do nothing. And it did nothing. And it finished doing nothing in 4 seconds. Beautiful. I mean, we didn't assign a run list, so it did nothing. That's expected. But that's what we did. We got a machine started and we are ready to run actual run list and actually assign some purpose in life to it. We didn't do that piece yet because our command did not include it. So because there is no run list references here, so it doesn't know what to do, so it did nothing. But it did whatever it was supposed to do, and then it came back saying run list is empty, so I'm not doing anything, and it did nothing and says that I did nothing and comes back. That's what we now have. You can do the exact same exercise in the other cloud. Like this other cloud example is Amazon example. So let's go grab it, copy it, bring it here, and then put in the scratch pad. Here is our scratch pad. So we will just paste it there and oops. We'll just paste it there and clean up. So in our Amazon cloud, we have bundle exec knife EC2 server create. IDRS says the name it should be workstation for me. Private key, Ubuntu, T2 micro. This machine image is questionable. So we'll go question it and say EC2 AMI finder. And we'll go to the AMI finder and then go to the region of choice at the bottom. We have our region of choice happens to be, hello? Yeah. So our region of choice is US East 1. So we narrow it down. We select 1404. And then we narrow it down to 64-bit. And then we narrow it down to SSD, HVM, EBS, like that. And then we narrow it down further to SSD. And that's one choice. That's the choice I will go with, which is this ID number. So I'll grab that number. Cannot copy. Come on, let me copy. Copied. Copied that, bring it here. And that ID number needs to change to this number and save. Now that I have this command ready, I'll do the exact same exercise on the other cloud. So we'll go copy and run it here. And in this Amazon cloud, we'll do the same thing. Just like we did in the DigitalOcean cloud, we'll say, okay, go do it. So now you will see it. You'll go to the Amazon cloud and you'll see the same exact thing happening in the dashboard here with a new running instance popping up here in any moment soon. There it is, a new instance popped up. It is initializing and it will eventually become available. And when it becomes available, it will get a public IP assigned and it will use that public IP to connect to it and all that good stuff will happen. The IP address is pending right now. And so now we have an IP address. The IP address should show up here in the window. In the public IP shows up as 107.21. That number is here, that same IP address. It is waiting for that machine to initialize, finish the status checks. SSH daemon starts. And then we should also cross-check our inbound rules. We know that we have allowed 22 port from my location, which is a good thing. If you don't have this 22 port open, this action will fail. Now it has connected through SSH. It connected to this location. It will now install Chef. It will then find out that it has nothing to do in life, so it will do nothing and then report that it did nothing. And then it comes back. So it is starting the first run. You see that the run list is empty. So this empty run list is showing you empty. So it loads no cookbooks and then it does nothing. And then it comes back saying that your machine is ready with nothing. And so that's what you see. Next, what I want to do is go next step. And now what I want to do is to actually assign some purpose in life to these boxes. The two boxes we have in two clouds. And what I want to do is add some role to these boxes. Like we haven't added any role, right? So what we'll do is to run these commands. So commands are actually self-explanatory. Let's go do that first. So here we go. First ones, knife, node, run list, add, abracadabra, base role. Knife, role, run list, add, abracadabra, master role. Knife, role, run list, add, abracadabra, web server role. So 3 roles in that sequence. Sequence is important. First, the base role, then the database role, then the web server role. Now, can you tell me why is the database server role needs to go before the web server role? Why this before that? For those who have experience with dealing with databases can answer this very quickly, but those who don't will have no idea. The reason of this, that we do the database first, is that databases sometimes take a little time to get up and running. And we want that database server to be actually ready before we have the web server connect to it. If you don't do it that way, and you have the web server up and running and tries to connect to the database server, and database server is not ready yet, you will have a failure. So timing and sequencing is important. You want to sequence the database server, get it up and running first before you try to connect to it. If you don't, it will fail. It should fail, and it will fail. And that's the idea. So we have assigned some run list to the abracadabra machine. Like here, abracadabra has these 3 things in the run list now. And we'll do one more thing. We'll set our machines in production mode. So the abracadabra machine we have, we'll put that in production. So that that machine sets itself in production environment. Production. Chef environment is production for abracadabra. Abracadabra is the name of the machine in the DigitalOcean cloud, not the EC2 cloud yet. So now we'll check the status of the machine or the node in Chef server. We'll check the status of that node in Chef server. It'll tell you that that machine is abracadabra. It has this IP address. And it has a run list that corresponds to a base role and database master and web server in that sequence. It is running Ubuntu 14.04. That information is coming to you straight from the Chef server because it knows about the machine because it got created and it has given the credentials. Handshake has happened, but no run list was there. Now we have a run list. So this time, when I connect to the machine like this, I see that I'm connected to the abracadabra machine. And there I have this thing called chef client, and I can just invoke chef client manually right now for first time, and it will go connect to the chef server and find out that there is a purpose in life now. And that purpose in life is expanded. Right? Just hold on, don't run too fast. Here we go. And so here you can see that the purpose in life is assigned as a run list. And that includes a bunch of things here. It is running way fast for me. Let me grab it back again if I can see it. But you see what it did is that it is going to do exactly what you told it to do in the run list, the expanded run list. And you can see the run list again, by the way. The run list is here, these 3 roles. And it expands itself into every single action that you have written down in those 3 roles. The base role, the database master role, it has these run list items inbuilt. At the top level, we have 3 roles. So this role, that role, and that role. 3 of these roles, one after the other, we are writing that down in our run list as defined here in the run list for that node. So as a consequence, we are converting that box into a LAMP stack. And that is going to finish soon. And once we have that finished, we'll go and check it out, see if it actually did what we wanted it to do. And that's what you will see, by the way. You will see that.
I'm sorry, did you run a command for that to happen?
Yes, yes, I did. I ran chef client. I just ran chef client. That's it.
So you just typed chef client and that runs it all?
Correct. Yeah, it just knows to go to the chef server and downloads the new updated role definitions and all the run list ideas and just runs it. It's just chef_client. I'll just show it to you by history. Let this finish, and I'll just show it to you. So we'll run it again. By the way, we have 2 more another machine ready for us. So if you see here, what I did was this chef-client, not chef_client, but chef-client. That's the command I ran, and I will run it again. By the way, no big deal. And this time it will do not much because it's already done the thing. So you can run chef repeatedly like that, and you can see that it does nothing much. Basically reports back that I don't need to do anything, but it's already taken care of. So it just finishes quickly. And you can see now, scroll back up to see the run list action, which is what you will see now. I am going there. Hello. Oh, it just goes away quickly. But hold on. What we'll do is we are on that box right now. So we should be able to see whether this machine is running Apache. And it absolutely is. What about PHP? Do you have PHP? Oh yeah, it does. What about MySQL Server? Yes, it is there. How about you let me connect to the MySQL Server using the username called root and a password that I will now type. And the password, as you know, is 123. So I will type 1, 2, 3, and then enter. And I am connected to the database also. So we have a database successfully set up, PHP installed, Apache installed and running, and it is a ready LAMP stack. Exit. And exit from Abracadabra. Now you can have that chef client run every so often automatically in a cron job. But now let us visit the other machine. The other machine is here. We have, in our nodes, we have those 2 machines. One is Abracadabra, and we have a run list. Like we can expand it. You can see the expanded run list contains, all these items: the base role, the DB master role, which is your SQL cookbook, and then a web server role, like that. These are 3 things I added in through a command line, hello. No, why are these? Close it. Yeah, like this. Yeah. Random windows open up on me. Sorry about that. So this is what we made on the command line to include the run list for that node, like that. And what I will do now is look at the other machine called this, whatever that number is. This is the Amazon machine, by the way. And it does not have anything in the run list. That's why when you see that this Amazon machine that I have here, the IP address, so if you go to that machine, Ubuntu at IP address, you will see that it doesn't have anything, right? Because it doesn't have a run list. It doesn't know what to do. So it did nothing. And why am I not connecting to it? Huh? Why is it not connecting? Break. SSH Ubuntu at IP address. Is the IP address wrong? Apparently so. Copy. And there is wrong IP address. Is it? Yeah, I think I copied wrong. That's the reason why it is wrong. Is I copied the private IP address. This is 172 address is private. It will never find the route to it. That's why it is not working. So this is a private IP. I need to grab the public IP. Now connects. And it should connect. So be connected to the Amazon machine, and it doesn't have Apache. It doesn't have anything that we installed. It's just enough OS, bare minimum OS. That's what we have. Except it has Chef. So we have Chef client, and you can run it, and it will do nothing. It will go to the Chef server, connect to it, find out it has nothing to do, and then it does nothing. Something is buggy here. Something is wrong. Something is broken. Yeah, we'll kill this machine and move on. We'll create another one. Something is broken with the setup. So I'm just ignoring this machine for now. And say, I'm not dealing with you, Amazon, because you created a broken machine for me. I'll deal with some other cloud. So the underlying idea is that you can actually expand the run list by editing it. And you say that my run list will include the base role and the database master role and the web server role, and then save. You could do that this way visually on a browser window if you like. And then you have to refresh the browser, which is a bug in this Chef server, is that you have to refresh the browser to see the new expanded run list. Now you see it. You can again edit and remove this and remove that. And you don't want something, you can modify it visually if you like. But this is boring because you cannot do this action on 10,000 computers, 10,000 such nodes. You would rather do it in a programmatic fashion. You would not want to do this by hand with a mouse click. It is totally available and possible to do it that way, like this, and include the database role and a web server role and then save and all that good stuff is totally doable, but not recommended. Don't do it this way. This is the newbie way of doing things. Don't do it this way. We also want to change the environment and then save. The environment has to be production, and then the run list items will apply when you have this thing set up. So now that finishes a portion of our exercise. And our EC2 machine did not set up correctly for some reason, so we'll ignore that for now. We'll not focus on debugging, but understanding concepts right now. So back here in this step, we added our run list items to the Abracadabra machine. It became and grew up to become a LAMP stack. And we can now go to the next step. And in the next step, what do we have? Is we connect to the node and run Chef, which we did, like Chef client, which we ran. And I think that Amazon may not have a problem after all, apparently. Apparently, the problem was with me. The problem was I was not using sudo. That's the problem. So sudo chef-client, as you will now notice, should run. It should run. I was being stupid and not using sudo, which is required on Amazon machines. In DigitalOcean, you already log in as root user, so sudo is irrelevant. But in Amazon, you are required to use the sudo prefix. I suspect that's the issue, me being stupid, not using sudo, forgetting to run sudo. But having said, in our chef manage on the Amazon machine here, not here, but here, you see that I have modified the environment to production, and I have set the run list expanded to include database master, base, database master, web server, 3 of them visually, and saved the run list and double check environment production. That is correctly verified. I need to also check this environment. This is stupid on the chef server. Like, why does it show a default environment when I have it production here? That is stupid. And I've told chef many times, they don't fix it. So I refresh that, and now I see production here, and production here, and production here for the Amazon machine, and I see the expanded run list and all that good stuff, which means I should now try this step, sudo chef client on the Amazon machine. And when I run this, it should go to the chef server, download a bunch of things, identify the environment, and identify the run list, expanded, collapsed, whatever, and then do its stuff. That's what I expect. I think that was the problem that I saw that I did not quite understand, because I think this was missing in my previous execution. As you can verify that, if I look at history, you will see that I ran just chef client as opposed to sudo chef client, which I should have, but I didn't. But at least I now know what happened. So now I'm running sudo chef client, and I suspect, and correctly so, that this machine will go connect to the chef server, download stuff, identify the run list, do its thing, and become a LAMP stack, just like that. Let it go. And I think it is doing it. So once this finishes, you will have a LAMP stack or another LAMP stack on the Amazon cloud, because your run list and your environments are correctly set. And we did that in a browser as opposed to doing it in the command line, like here, for example. We did that command line way, we did the visual way, we did 2 clouds, and we ran sudo chef client, and I was silly and forgetting the sudo part. But that's okay. At least I caught it in time. Now we can test and validate, and that's the first part of the exercise. There are several variations to this exercise you can actually get through, and you can, the more you vary, create your own variations to it, the more you will really understand what's going on under the hood. Because that is my primary goal, is to make you understand, not so much in, making you adept in using chef per se, because chef is just a tool. It will, evolve, and some new tools will pop up. And by the way, we have a ton of tools already available for us, and we'll use many of them. Chef is just one of them. It is not the best tool, by the way, today. It is definitely not the best, but we are still using it because it gives you a perspective of how things are different. So you may think that chef is awesome right now, because I haven't talked to you about other tools yet. But you will see soon that chef is kind of something that I have actually stopped using, honestly. But I still use it in the training program, at least for a bunch of exercises, to get a feel of what the nuts and bolts are. And then you can go slightly higher order tools, especially when it comes to Docker and Kubernetes. You will understand and appreciate these details much more once we compare and contrast other tools with this tool. And then you will have a good appreciation of the detail as well as getting things done quickly. Now this Amazon machine seems to also have successfully completed its things. Let's go validate. The validation is simply checking whether Apache server is running. I think it is. And then validating whether PHP is installed correctly. And it is. MySQL installed correctly. And I think that is. And let's check connect with the MySQL server ourselves. And ask me for a password. So it's asking me for a password. I know my password is 123. And I got connected to the database. I can see the databases I have. And I can quit. And I can exit from the machine. And now I can say bundle exec knife EC2 server list. And I'll see one server, which is this one running. Similarly, I can say bundle exec knife digital ocean droplet list. And I see one box. That is abracadabra right there. So this installed LAMP stack. Let's go next. See what do we have. Okay. I think I need to take a break. I'll be back. Just a few minutes. I'm starting a break timer right there. I'll be back before that.
No worries.
Hey, I'm back.
Hello.
Yeah, that was good estimation on, on a precise estimation
Yeah.
on the time it needed, like 7 minutes. Okay. I guess it is through experience that I come up with such
Right.
estimations. I know how much time it takes. And so, estimating that a 7-minute timer, kind of a weird thing to do, but I have done this many, many times. I know exactly how much time it takes for me. And it turns out it is 5 minutes is not enough. 10 minutes is too much. So 7.
There you go. 7 minutes.
Yep. That's my break. Okay. So what we want to do is that we have a LAMP stack ready, but we want to get the application up and running like quickly. I want to see that WordPress right now. I mean, I'm impatient. So I'll do the cheating way, not the chef way, but the cheating way right now. So we have LAMP stack created in 2 different clouds, DigitalOcean cloud and Amazon cloud. And you can do the same thing in any cloud. Doesn't even matter what cloud it is. Actually, honestly, cloud doesn't matter. To me, it's irrelevant. It's just a machine somebody rents you and you just use it. That's what people call cloud. So cloud computing to me is just computing. It just happens to be on a rented machine as opposed to a machine that you own and manage. That's cloud computing for me. But I don't break this until after the halfway into the sessions. That I tell that, you know what, cloud computing is actually renting a computer from somebody else. Yeah, people make a big deal out of cloud, but whatever. Yeah, it is just a rented computer. Like you rent a car that you don't own, it's a rented computer from this company or that company or God knows which companies. So we have a LAMP stack. And what I want to do is set up WordPress. You know, WordPress, what it takes to set up is to just download the package, unzip it, and put it in the right location. That's the location. You know that. That's when you dump the entire unzip package in that folder, and boom, you have LAMP stack will take over and start showing you this application, whatever you put in that location. If it's a PHP application, which happens to be WordPress, it will then show you WordPress. That's the underlying idea. We have LAMP stack ready. So all we need to really do is grab this WordPress package and put it in that folder, VARWWW. That's what I want to really quickly do to get some instant gratification. And so that instant gratification is done in form of a script, which is a cheat script. This is cheating. This is not the chef way of doing things. So I have written that cheating script for us already. That looks like this. So what this step involves is to create a database and a database user. And that's what this step is. We'll have to run this on the database server. And there is another cheat step, because we want to set up this MySQL portion correctly, right? And then the other cheat portion is to get this application loaded in that folder. And so that is what the second cheat step is, which is here. So if you look at that cheat step, that is here. And in that step, what we are doing is grabbing that package and then expanding it and removing the package itself, removing the tarball, and removing the folder, setting permissions, and modifying that folder with the contents. So you read the script, you will find out what's going on. But that's exactly what I want to run in our 2 different clouds. So I'll just run it. I'll go to one of the clouds. I'll say, let's go to DigitalOcean first. And so here is your DigitalOcean. Let me adjust, my keyboard is away. Hello. There comes my keyboard. Okay. And now I will run this on the Abracadabra machine. And what I want to really run is grab those 2 commands which are ready-made scripts. These are cheating, not the chef way, just cheating, quickly get it done. So grab the script. So now I have it. It's called database setup script. And the other one is the WordPress script. So I grab it also. And now I have that script also. Sorry. I have these two scripts available to me. I want to run them on the Abracadabra box. First, I will run the database creation step. And it's done. It's very quick. There is not much to do actually. Once you read the detail, I'll read it for you, but I'll just get to the output first. The next step I want to do is to run the WordPress setup. Like that. And there it is. WordPress is set up and correctly running, working already. We are done. Which means we just need to visit that IP address and we should see WordPress live. We'll see that right now. Exit and grab the IP address. Copy it, bring it here, open a new command, a new window, and type the IP address and go there. And you will see WordPress. Here we go, set it up and say, welcome to WordPress. Before getting started, we need some information on the database you want to use. You need to know the database name, the username, the password, the machine running the database software, and a table prefix if you have one. Once we have these details, you can just say, click, let's go. And by the way, we have it. We have in the cheat, the script I ran. So it already includes that detail. And so we said, let's go. Let's go. So we know that database, the script that we did set up already has chosen the values written down here already. So WordPress is the name of the database, username is the name of the user, password is the value of the password, localhost is the name of the location where the database seems to be running, the table prefix is this. That's the chosen ideas that I have taken basically from here and wrote my scripts in such a fashion that use these values so I don't have to type them, basically being lazy. So basically doing all the hard work up front, so I can now be lazy and just click submit. So when I do that, it says, all right, Sparky, you made through this part of the installation. Now WordPress can communicate with your database. And if you are ready, time now to run the install. So here we go. You have to give it a title and a username and a password, and confirm user weak password and my email address. And then discourage Google from looking at my website. I don't want Google to look at me because my website is not ready. It is not wearing proper clothing. So I am hiding from the search engines and say install. And then I say login, and then I give my login email and address and password, and off we go. And we now have WordPress ready. You can go to the dashboard or go to the front page like that. Here it is. Welcome to whatever that thing is. That's WordPress. And we are logged in. We can go to the site administration. We can see that WordPress update is available. So we can update it and say, yeah, update now. So WordPress will update now. And it is upgrading the database, successfully updated. Now we have some plugins. You want to update a new version, so we update that. And then we have everything up to date now. And so we have some themes, so you can update them also. Here we go. Themes updated 1, 2, and 3. Now everything in our database setup is correctly up to date, and we can keep customizing the site. The look and feel of this site can be changed and all that, just like regular WordPress users use. This is the using the software part, not the setup part. But things are working okay, and it is correctly functional. All we need to do is modify that IP address with a record pointing to your DNS domain. And you can change that in your settings, reading section, and general section. And here you, instead of this IP address, you can put your DNS name after you have an A record created, and you're off to business, real business. This is, by the way, exactly how Cloud Genius site used to run about 3 years ago when I stopped using Chef for production. 3 years, 2 years, maybe 2 to 3 years, somewhere in between. By the way, the code that you ran right now with me is exactly the code that was running live for many years. And the Cloud Genius site was set up exactly like I have here, with the name of the site as opposed to an IP address like that, with the A record put in place and all that good stuff. That's how we used to run this site. So it is actually very stable. It works exactly like you expect, like you saw. And by the way, you may have succeeded in running the same thing just like that. I'll do the same steps on the other cloud. Like right now, I am connected to the Amazon cloud. And there, I will run the same 2 steps, cheat method. So download the script and run the script. Similarly, download the other script for data WordPress and run the script. And we now have that machine called Amazon machine, also a WordPress deployment right there. You should see WordPress coming up. Continue. And then database name, username, we already have it handled in the script. So let's go. We type it in. So let's go. And we say, all right, Sparky, run the install. So install is running. We can fill it up with whatever name of the site. And then put a username and a password, which is not very difficult. So that's okay. And we discourage search engines and install. And there it is running now. Login. And this is your WordPress on Amazon. Not now. Update the site. Update now. And here, plugins. Update them. There is a new version. Update that. Then we have some look and feel updates. Those are the themes. Then we update them. And that is 1, 2, and 3 done. Now we are back to business. Cloud Genius on AWS. That is a different site than the other site that we had, which is your Cloud Genius on DigitalOcean. So this is what I think you can do on your fun site, by the way, very, very simply, just to start. So just take a T2 micro machine from Amazon for free, run this software like we have, and map that DNS name that you want to a number, which you will get like this IP address. And then you have a WordPress site for your domain. You can load up with fun pictures in the Halloween and all that good stuff. Totally do that. Totally do that. You should do that, by the way.
Yeah, that's a good idea. My only snag on this whole thing was for some reason, I can't connect to AWS. I don't know.
Share your desktop. I'll fix it.
Okay. Okay. So I was trying to go in and see, because remember we had to change me from Ohio to North Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
So I was trying to see, all I did was I went in here and I imported a key pair and I copy pasted the public key from the workstation.
Mm-hmm.
The security groups, do I need to change anything there?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're closed out. They're closed. They're completely closed. So you need to remove that rule.
Okay. Is this where I
Let me
do
tell you why it is closed. It's saying all traffic allowed, right? It says all traffic allowed, but I am telling you it is closed because the source is limited to only itself.
I see.
This is itself. So you want to remove this rule.
Okay, and this
Right?
is
So this is the source 494949C. and the item itself is that. So from within itself, it can connect all traffic allowed, which doesn't mean that traffic is allowed. It actually means traffic is disallowed.
Okay.
So we remove that. We add a rule and 22, and from your location, and then add a rule, and that is HTTP, and then add another rule, HTTPS, and then make it to go anywhere is fine, anywhere is fine, and then save. And then your thing should work now.
Okay.
Did you try the other guy here? Is that working?
Yeah, DigitalOcean worked fine.
Okay.
It was just here, let me pull up my workstation real quick.
Yeah. So I think you don't have a machine running, which is fine.
Right, because
But your security groups are okay now. That was the problem. And it will perpetually wait for the machine to get started. You have a zero running instance. No. You did not even start an instance.
Yeah, it didn't. Here, I'll show you. Let me.
Okay.
Let me.
Yeah. I'll let you drive.
Okay. So what I did was when I tried to do the.
Hey, you need to delete your keys again.
Fine.
Yeah, just
okay,
get
I'll
ready.
delete the keys again. But what I did was when I copied this, it was failing. So
what was the failure?
it said like my key, it couldn't find the key. I don't know if it's still in here. There it was. Oh.
So the key name is workstation, right?
It said this right there on the screen.
Yeah. So this needs to change to workstation.
Okay. That was the second piece.
Yep.
So that's changes. And then this I changed already, the AMI.
Yeah.
And everything else should be fine then.
Yeah.
So if I copy that and get down to the bottom.
So run it. It'll work.
Let's see.
Yeah. In the meanwhile, what you should also do is go to your what is it called?
Gladysburg?
Yeah, no, the chef server, and assign the roles if you haven't done yet. Chef server. Yeah, there. And so you have abracadabra entry with all that taken care of, but the new entry will pop up right now. There it is. Now this guy needs to be in production mode, and you need to save it. You need to go do the same thing for your run list, expand it, edit it, all that piece. I'll let you do that. And you need to include your new purpose in life, DNA injection. So that run list needs to be edited. The edit button is right next to the other side of this.
Is it on the browser? What do you mean?
Yeah, browser.
Oh, there it is.
You drag base role to the current, then that DB master, and then web server, and save, and refresh. So now this is looking okay. Now go back to your terminal, and there you will find that the first time it may or may not. Yeah, it probably finished without doing anything. So now you want to go connect to this IP address. And then run chef client. And don't do the mistake I did. Like, don't run it like this. Don't.
Oh, you need sudo.
Yeah.
So
So this time it will pick up all the things that you just added.
Okay.
And see, it did.
Okay. So looks like everything's good.
I think so. And the fascinating thing that I like about it is that you were able to catch up and keep pace with me, which is kind of hard. You
There was
actually
only that one time that I was like, wait, I have no clue what happened in the last 10 seconds.
I know, but it's amazing that you were able to keep pace. That is awesome. I mean, I am impressed. I should say that. Very few people actually keep pace with me. I tend to fly, and you're doing it first time. I've done 100 times, maybe more, maybe more than 100 times. So I just know the whole thing. In fact, you may not realize this, but I do not prepare for the class. There is no need to. I don't have any notes here. I don't have a cheat sheet. When you look at my desk, I have nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I just go on the fly and do live exercises. Sometimes I remember everything that I have done because I have done it so many times. And I keep doing new things every single day. And that's hard to catch up, hard to keep pace, no doubt about it. But that is impressive that only few people actually are able to run it just like this. And that is awesome.
Yeah,
Actually,
I'm glad to follow along.
Yeah, so I am happy that you're doing it. So that gives me the motivation to actually do more. So here we go. What am I doing? I'm checking for the Apache process.
Yep.
I think I'm tired.
Yeah.
And there we go. Then we have our PHP and our MySQL daemon and our MySQL username root and password 123. You can give it right there if you like, or you can give it in a later step, which I'll let you type.
Okay.
So enter and type the password. So it validated successfully. We can quit. And now, sorry, I shouldn't quit. I should run those cheat commands, two of them.
Oh, yeah.
The quick cheat sheet scripts.
This one. Oh.
It downloads the scripts and then runs it.
And then this one, right?
Yeah, sudo and run the script.
And then this one. Oh.
Before you run it, hold on. Before you run,
Mm-hmm.
so go back to the command line. So you will see that this actually is installing a slightly older version of WordPress, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we can update the script itself to run the latest version simply by changing these numbers. Let me just cross check if that's the number. So what I'm doing is on the fly modifying the version of WordPress in the script itself. And the version is 498. That's good. So that's what I was doing here, 498. And I hope I did not make a mistake. No, did not.
Looks good.
Okay, so save. And then run it. So it's done. Now you have a WordPress running already. So you can just go to this web browser, this IP address on the web browser, and finish it off. You can go to this browser or other browsers, whatever you like. It doesn't matter. It's running on the cloud. So that browser is kind of slow. This is lame. I don't like it. But I'll let you go wherever you feel like. That IP address is in your copy buffer. And I'll let you deal with this now. So you can understand and go ahead.
All right. And before I forget, I just want to go in and delete my key. Because I did that again.
Yes. Before you forget, delete that one and get a new one next time.
Okay. All right. Well, I will just play around a bit more.
Yeah. Keep playing. Keep destroying the whole machine. Do it again.
Yeah.
Any number of times.
All righty. Well, I'll let you go then, and we'll talk again on Monday.
Yes, indeed.
Okay. Sounds good. Thanks, Nilesh.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.